Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge Mr. Robert Hunter, who's the Senior Operations Manager, that he's going to talk to us briefly about a safety announcement.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. We welcome all of you to our building here at ADEQ, the board members, and to our guests. Our director, Becky Keogh, would have been here just to say hello and greet you this morning, but she's in Washington, D.C. on a matter for us here at the agency. We do welcome you to our facility. We are proud to be partners with you, the Department of Education, and the different boards that are going to be meeting with us for roughly about the next 8 months. And as we progress through the meetings, if there's anything that we can accommodate, we certainly will and do everything we can. I'm going to talk just a little bit on the building. We are a LEED certified building, which is the first one built in the state of Arkansas 10 years ago. We do some things here that we'd like for you to participate with us. On recycling, we have opportunities to recycle here, paper, bottles, things, cans like that, if you would. Our staff, because we are always recertifying, we'd like to make everyone aware to participate with us. I also want to tell you that the restrooms are down in the middle column where the 2 elevators, when you entered, you saw the 2 elevators. To the left side of it will be the gentlemen's. On the right side of it will be our ladies. Behind that unit is also a soda snack machine area that we have, a full kitchen. I think the board members are going to be joining together for lunch. We have your room set aside, E109, that we will make sure that we have everything together. We certainly appreciate your staff. We've had great luck in working with everybody, with Gail, Kevin, and with Dan. Have been phenomenal in getting things set up, and we appreciate their time and patience with us, and then also the other crew. I also want to touch on safety. We do not have, and we don't anticipate a safety issue, but if we do have something occur, you will hear the alarm and you will see the lights will flash. If you would, Gail will lead you out. She's been here working with us on different projects, and Dan will follow you. If you would pick up your personal items only, please, and if you'll walk out this side door, you will exit and turn right on the sidewalk. You'll be on the sidewalk all the way. You will go to the very far end of our parking area. Gail, again, will lead out. Dan will follow along with Kevin. I will ask them to be our last out. And then we will come down immediately just to make sure you're moving out comfortably and assist anybody. And then we will join you. Someone will join you out at the far end of the parking lot. We've only had one incident where after 10 years a sensor went bad one morning and we had to evacuate the building. So we don't anticipate and certainly don't hope that will reoccur while you're here as our guest. Again, we're very proud that you're here. We're looking forward to the next 8 months or so of you coming. If there are needs or anything, you can get with me, or Alexandra will get with me, and we'll get everything together. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter, and I do want to say how much we do appreciate ADEQ and all of you. You've made us feel very welcome here, and we are very, very honored to be able to be in such a great facility and have you all take care of us so well. Welcome to everyone. I will now call to order the October 19th meeting of the Charter Authorizing Panel. If you would please silence all of your electronic devices, and let's not break any furniture over here while we're getting started here. I'll introduce the Charter Panel at this time. The Charter Panel oversees the authorization, renewal, revision, and revocation of charters. Recently passed Act 462 of 2017 allows for individuals outside the department to serve on the panel. In accordance with the Act and in an effort to increase representation from multiple stakeholder groups, Commissioner Key named 7 members to the Charter Authorizing Panel on August 3rd, 2017. I am Ivy Pfeffer, the ADE Deputy Commissioner. We also have Dr. Jeremy Owa, ADE Assistant Commissioner for Educator Effectiveness, Dr. Mike Hernandez, our State Superintendent for the Office of Coordinated Support and Service. Kathy Turner, Deputy Director for Career and Technical Education at the Arkansas Department of Career Education. Mike Wilson, Education Advocate and Attorney in Jacksonville. Dr. Nakaman Williams, a former State Board Member of Education, and Toyce Newton, a former State Board of Education member. As Chair, it's my goal to facilitate a fair and responsible hearing. I will request that each person speaking please state your name and title for the record. I will ask that you continue to speak clearly into the microphone for the benefit of the panel, the audience, and our viewing audience. The entire meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and Ms. Sharon Hill, our court reporter, will be providing a transcript of the meeting, and it will be posted on the ADE website. At this time, we will begin with any reports. And at this time, I do not have any reports. Does any other member have any kind of report to present?
Yes, I had the opportunity to just do a couple site visits over the past month to two schools. One was the Arkansas Arts Academy, and the other was the New Tech High in Rogers, Arkansas. And it was just good to get back in school, to see teachers and kids. And it's just good to know that a lot of teaching and learning is going on out there. I won't get into any details since we have one coming before us this morning.
Thank you very much. And it is always great when we can be in schools, when we get to see that great work going. So thank you for that report. Okay. There's no other report. We will move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to discuss any items on the consent agenda? Okay, if not, I will accept a motion on the consent agenda. Okay, we've had a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved. We will now move to our action agenda.
I'm sorry, Dr. Pepper, can you tell me who made the motion?
Mr. Wilson made the motion and Dr. Owa seconded the motion. Okay, so on the action agenda, we'll start with Staff Attorney Ms. Davis. Ms. Davis, if you will come forward and explain this process, the hearing, the voting, and the process of how the panel will report to the State Board to consideration to review or not review.
All right, good morning. Jennifer Davis, Staff Attorney for the Department. The procedures that you're going to follow will be the same for all agenda items today. It will begin with all persons wishing to provide testimony to you will need to be sworn in with the exception of any attorneys that may be present. The applicant will then have 20 minutes to make its presentation to you for its application or its amendment, at which point there will also be 20 minutes collectively for any opposition that may want to speak, followed by an additional 5 minutes rebuttal time for the applicant. At that point, you can ask any questions of the applicant or the department that you may have. You can take the matter under advisement or vote on it today. If you vote on it today, you do have a Google Doc that's been provided to you, so that way you can note the reasons for your vote. And I would just like to remind you that this is kind of considered a contract negotiation, so anything that the applicant says or agrees to that may differ from the written material that they've provided to you today does become part of any amendment or charter that you grant.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Davis? All right, so if not, we will move on in to item 1 of the action agenda. Ms. Boyd, you are next.
Thank you, Dr. Pfeffer. Alexandra Boyd, Director of Charter Schools. On November 13, 2000, the State Board of Education approved the application for Arkansas Arts Academy. The charter is approved to serve students in grades K through 12 with a maximum enrollment of 1,225. Representatives of Arkansas Arts Academy are appearing before the panel to request an amendment to the current charter. And here, on behalf of the charter, we have Mary Lay, who is the superintendent, and Matt Young, who is the principal of the elementary middle school grades.
Okay, Okay, will all representatives from the Arkansas Arts Academy and anyone speaking in opposition please stand to receive the oath? Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. You may come on forward. You will have 20 minutes to present. Welcome here today.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Mary Lay, Superintendent, Arkansas Arts Academy. And
I'm Matt Young, the K-8 principal at Arkansas Arts Academy.
so we're here to ask you, in 2009, before Matt and I even worked for Arkansas Arts Academy, there were two different charters who came together. And now they're all under one roof. One was a K-8 and one was a high school campus. But since then, nobody ever looked. They've just gone on. But we want to unify the school and make it even a better school than we think it already is. And we think, like my responsibility, or two of my responsibilities, is to always provide financial sustainability and also to always drive even better impact in the arts and in academics. And this amendment will do both of those. So right now, we have almost 700 students at the K-8. And Matt will be sharing with you the amount of students, which is almost overwhelming, who want to come to his school. And at the high school, as most of you know, we're rebuilding the high school. It's very exciting. The concrete's poured, the beams are up this week, and when that school's done, it will hold more students. We'll be able, instead of having 250 students, we'll be able to have 600 students at that school. And we will be able to provide even deeper arts programming, more ceramic studios that we haven't had in the past, more dance studios, more programs to make us at a national level, which is our goal. We're not even being cheesy about it. Between the building and our programming and our new great principal there, we plan on having the best art school in the nation, nothing less. We want to put Arkansas on the map with the best charter school, best public school, best art school. That's simple. So at the K-8, we have, one of the problems has been the recruitment at the high school, even though it's ranked the second best school by U.S. News and World Report for Arkansas because of its academics. We haven't been successfully recruiting. We have taken our own measures with that by hiring a new principal lately that we think will drive the recruitment and the programming at a higher level. And we have taken the steps to redo our bonds and rebuild this school. But the next step is the K-8 has only taken 60 kindergarten students and always kept that number up to 67 to 68 in the middle school numbers. But we've always needed 125 students at the 9th, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade to make it sustainable. But what we have found as we've taken over is that the K-8 used to be not very academically strong, but student strong. But people were dropping students off, honestly, because they were mad at the public schools. And that's not why we want students to come to our school. We want kids to come to our school because they want the arts, and they want the good programming, and they want the good academics. Matt has fixed all that, which he will tell you. We're very excited about that. The high school survived because of the K-8 numbers. And the high school, though, had the best academics in the history of this organization. And the academics were so strong that when we would come for renewal, you would accept our renewal with hesitation. But because the high school was so strong, you kept us going academically where the K-8 wasn't. We have the K-8 academics fixed now. We have the K-8 arts. We have the arts fixed at the high school now, and the academics are strong. But we need more students at the high school. We'll have more room. So we think the solution is to add 100 kindergarten students, 100 first grade, 100 third grade, and so forth. If we always have 100 per grade, we will have that 1,200 number that we need to be always sustainable, not to always ask to borrow money or to get grants to keep us going. We can breathe at night, have all the high-level things we need, and be totally sustainable. So we would like to have the K-8 move to the high school. And we also think that that will be a better for the 7th and 8th grade because it will provide them more performance opportunities, more mentoring opportunities. And I think opportunities are very important for success in education. When I first started, this is my 40th year in education. That's crazy. I thought I was only 41. But anyway, I thought it's really exciting to be where I'm at today because of all the experiences I had. I have learned that when I was kind of a post-hippie child, so I was going to change the world when I started teaching. And I was going to change every kid. And then I realized pretty soon that it isn't my place to change anybody. But what my place is to provide great opportunities, because I think every time a student, like I used to live in Colorado before I moved to Arkansas, I would arrange for kids to climb Pikes Peak and then write stories and do art about it. And we'd have all these great experiences, and I would take them fishing and then draw it and write about it. I was an art teacher, and I would always do all this integration, which we're doing now. When I found out you gave kids opportunities, you would see the light come on in their head, and you see them grow and develop. So I call opportunities dots. And then the more opportunities you give kids, the more dots, the more they connect. And then the change comes within the student. And we believe by bringing the 7th and 8th grader over to high school, you give them these dots to drive this change, and the more opportunities that we can give, because they come with kids getting to perform more and to be with the older children, to join them in the opportunities they have. And then I would like Matt to tell you about his problem of more kids wanting to come to his school. It's a great problem to have.
Charter Board, thank you so much for allowing us to come before you today.
Ms. Young,
yes.
recognize yourself.
Yes, my name is Matt Young. I'm the Arkansas Arts Academy K-8 principal. It's been amazing the last 2.5 years to kind of watch our school and how it's grown. You know, this morning when I checked my phone, we have a waiting list of 460 kids that want to come join us. And it's hard for me to say no. You know, you have someone that has a passion that wants to come for their child. And that's all of our best blessings in life for our children. You know, for my own children, both of them go to school at the Arts Academy. It's been amazing for my child to be exposed to dance, piano, all these things. I was like, boy, I've got great intentions of doing that, but I don't want to shell out $100 to put something else in my garage. You know, and maybe that's only my kids, but man, for them now to get those experiences on a regular basis, to find those passions in life that aren't available in other places. But we've got other kids that want that opportunity. And for me to say, you can't come because I don't have room, just feels wrong. You know? It's not their fault. They didn't turn in their form quick enough. You know, I had someone that just started the Friday before October break. She's been waiting 2 years. 2 years to come. And she was so pumped. I don't know how many hugs I got from that girl, and a cupcake. Homemade. It was very good. But the rest of these kids, we've got to figure out, we've got 460 kids, K through 8, that want to come to our school. We've got spots that are going to become available at the high school. How can we help this? Because right now we're trapped in a box. You know, our campus has to be K-8. The high school has to be 9-12. We want to be able to work with our parents, work with our students, work with our teachers and our community to figure out how can we get more kids into our school. You know, is it moving just 8th grade over? Is it moving just 7th grade over and 8th grade? But right now we don't have that opportunity. Give us the opportunity to help more of these kids come off the list and open these doors for kids. Because the last thing any of us want to do is say, hey, you know what, I'm sorry you didn't get to take piano because you didn't have the money. Or because, you know what, your dad wanted you to play baseball. Or the drive was too far. Because when I look at that list, it hurts for me to say, these kids are not getting that. So please give us the consideration to allow us the flexibility to move some students to a location where we have space so we can take these group of students and parents that want to come to our campus. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Ms. Boyd, is there anyone here to speak in opposition?
No, ma'am. No one signed up to speak in opposition.
Okay. You still have plenty of time from your original 20 minutes, but you also have then the 5 minutes to close. Do you want to add anything else or ready for questions?
Well, we have had, so you know, we did have an all-staff meeting to share with the kindergarten teachers to the teachers at the high school to see if they would feel okay about this, and we had great overall feelings about it. The two principals are very collaborative and work really well. She would have been here today, but she's with the Pea Ridge superintendent figuring out a new flex schedule for students today, and had already arranged that. And we also had a parent meeting. I think about 75 parents showed up, and out of the 75, I think 2 or 3 didn't like it, but they also had the opportunity to come to my office or use any social media to voice their opinion. I think I received one negative letter, but she said no matter what, her student would still go to our school. But overall, we've had good support on it. Another reason it'd be nice to bring them, and we're changing our mascot, so it's a mascot for both schools. We really want to be unified. When those two schools came together, I think the former administrators didn't have a very good kumbaya relationship, and we do now. And we want to be more than just 2 campuses. We want to be 2 campuses with one heart and one soul. We have the same mission, we have the same goals, and we're just trying to work out where the issues of having a lot more kids coming and making sure that the high school has enough kids coming to the new school to make it sustainable and offer them the programming I think our 7th and 8th graders can have if they're put with the high school students. And I will say, we traveled across the nation to see the best high schools and art schools in the nation. We went to Denver, to Santa Fe, and New Orleans, and Houston, and most of them are 712 or 612. So we're modeling them after very successful schools. So.
Yes, go ahead.
Dr. Pfeffer, I just want to clarify before y'all get into question and answers. They are far away from meeting their cap. So the extra students that they're talking about adding, they're already approved to add that many students. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start with questions. I think Dr. Hernandez has a question to start.
Our question might be for Alexandra and Jennifer. So, having these 2 schools that have combined together under a K-12 charter with a new cap, is there a reason why they have to ask to modify where grade bands are? And if they are, the follow-up to that's going to be, for what I heard them say is that they're asking about moving 7th and 8th grade to the high school. But will there be flexibility in their thought process, say, well, we want to do this grade, we may not want to do that. So I'm just trying to avoid having them moving back, coming back and forth if they need to make adjustments based on what families say.
We all appreciate that, Dr. Hernandez. Unfortunately, because their 2 campuses are not at the same address, they have to come and ask for approval because they have to do a desegregation analysis, and we have to have that assurance that it's not negatively impacting desegregation. So that's really why they have to come forward. If they were all on one campus, or at the same 2 buildings basically at the same address, then we wouldn't have to do this. I'm not sure, Ms. Davis, if there's a way to word the motion so that they wouldn't have to come back.
If they are asking for flexibility with the 7th and 8th grade only, then the motion could be worded to move one or both of those grades to allow them to do that. So that way, if they determine that 8th grade is more appropriate at this time to move, and then maybe later move 7th or keep them separate, that way they would not have to come back. Now, if they want to do for expanding it for other grades at that campus, then they would have to come back. But for 7th and 8th grade, you could allow them the flexibility in your motion to move one or both at a time when they see fit over the next year or 2 years or however long.
Also, if we do it that way, I think we need to make it clear that it's a requirement on them to let us know when they move the kids, because we need to know where the kids are.
follow-up? Okay. Dr. Owen, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. You mentioned that the academics and the arts program are stronger in the schools. Can you elaborate on what you did to increase the strength of your program?
So at the K-8 campus, that's where the questions that came up academically. And honestly, it was because there was no foundational curriculum. Everybody was operating in isolation. All the teachers were doing their own thing, and they were all just finding things, just to be honest. And I'm like, yes, we want creativity. Yes, we want arts integration, but we also have to have a foundation that's common. That way, we are sure that all the third graders are getting these basic building blocks, and they weren't getting that before. So we have worked with the University of Arkansas literacy specialist David Hansen and to help our literacy program. And then we've also brought in Eureka Math, which has came in with the State Department. Working with them, those two programs has been a big blessing for us. And when we look at our ACT Aspire results comparing last year's to this year's, of the 30 tests, thinking of all the sub-tests between 3rd and 8th grade, 24 of those 30 areas grew. We even had some grades that grew 20 to 30 percentage points in that growth area. Of the 6 that did not, because I'm always one of those people who's like, oh my goodness, what happened? 2 of them stayed the same, and one of those was at an 89 and one of those was at a 90%. And in one grade we had a problem, but we did find it was a curriculum problem. So we've gone back and adjusted what we're going to offer for that group of kids this year.
One last question for now. If it is approved for you to move 7A or 8, what would be the layout of the grades within that high school? Will the 7th grade, 7th graders or 8th graders be mixed with the 11th and 12th graders? Will they have classes together? What will be the composition?
The core classes will have a central area where 7th and 8th grade are in one area. Because we have, even with the new construction, they're all going to be hooked together, but we only have 4 different buildings. So they'll be mostly in the one building for core classes. And certain art classes, it'll depend on their level, because we'll have guitar is a popular class, and we'll have students that can play the guitar almost at a professional level. That's a 7th grader, and so we'll make an exception and put him in a higher level guitar class where he'll be challenged. But most of the kids might be at a beginning guitar class if they've never had guitar. So there'll be some individuality with the arts depending on their level. We have a new animation class. I doubt if all the students have had that before, so all 7th, 8th grade will be in the same animation class. But there'll be exceptions once in a while. We'll put them in a higher level class so they'll be challenged. But they won't be in the same hallways in the same building.
And I kind of appreciate you for placing students based on the individual needs. My only concern would be the intimidation of being a younger student mixed in with older students.
I wish you'd come see our school, because I know you feel that way. And we have the most beautiful, sensitive, I don't know, and I'll give credit to being the arts, and we have quirky superintendents, some quirky principals, and quirky kids, and we celebrate quirkiness. But the beautiful thing about quirkiness is we really have no bullying in our school, not because there's posters everywhere, but because kids are so sensitive. They're sensitive kids, and they appreciate differences. And I always say, if you want world peace, you should come to see our cafeteria, because our kids blend. They don't care what color you are or how much you weigh or whatever. They're all talking about the arts and what they're doing. And there are kids that want to be left alone and read their book, and there are other kids that just want to talk. And we have purple hair with blue hair and gothic. And, it's just for me, that's what's been so wonderful, is to see that there can be peace on earth. And if it's the arts that do it, then so be it. So pretty cool.
Dr. Williams, do you have a question?
More or less just a question and a comment. First of all, I will attest to what Ms. Lake just said when I was out there at the school. It's really strange, but it looks like all the kids belong there. I mean, from the guys taking classical ballet, you won't find that in a whole lot of schools. To the elementary kids, some of them doing performance, some of them working on violin. It's truly a school of the arts. And one of my concerns when I went out there that was alleviated was that, you know, I'm a math person, so I'm kind of concrete sequential in my thinking, was that all this talk about this art stuff, you know, all the basics are being covered. And that's what Mr. Young alluded to. We talked a little bit about that when I was out there. Are the foundations in place, and then the infusion of the art kind of comes on top of that. And I felt they had meant that was taking place, and that I was impressed that there were no cliques out there. All the kids are just kind of, I don't know whether quirky is the word, but they are arts kids, and they all belong. They're at a place where they're in their comfort zone. The essence of my question is just basically, what you're looking to do, you're expanding the high school, the concrete has been poured, construction is taking place, and you're going to have more space at that facility. And you would like to grow, but the elementary, K through 8, is maxed out now. So if you move the 7th and 8th grade to the high school, one, you have the space because you're building more space there, and that way you can also increase your enrollment in the K-6. Okay, thank you. That's it. Just want to kind of simplify what we're looking at here.
Thank you. We'll start. Do you have any questions, Ms. Turner? No. Questions? No? Okay. So I just, one question, and I think Dr. Williams did a great job of helping to summarize everything. In making the transition, I know the 7th and 8th grade, sometimes with teachers and their specializations and certifications, you've got a little more flexibility in those grades 5 and 8, and as you get in the 7, 12, sometimes it's a little more specialized. Do you feel confident that in terms of staffing when you make this change, and in terms of providing those core academic classes, are you able to meet all of those needs with the transition of staff and students?
Yes, we've already pulled all the licenses, and there was only one language arts teacher that would not qualified at this time to go to the high school level, and she's brilliant and has the highest language arts scores in the state, so we would want her to go, but she's already agreed to take the praxis test to make sure, you know, I think she's taking it this month even, to give her qualifications to go to the high school level. But everybody else already had the licensure to do it, so. Thank you.
Panel members, are there any remaining questions? Okay, Ms. Davis, are there any remaining issues with the application itself? No? Okay. And I'm assuming nobody has signed up for public comment then. All right. Well, if there aren't any questions, I will accept a motion at this time on this amendment request.
I move that the 7th and 8th grade of the Arkansas Arts Academy be allowed to move from the elementary campus to the high school campus over the next, when it's determined that the facility is ready to receive those students, and also to inform the Arkansas Department of Education when the move will take place. Clean that up.
Okay.
I would just recommend that it would be the 7th or the 8th grade, so that way if they felt that they needed to move one and maybe not the other. Okay.
And that is my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Dr. Williams' motion and Dr. Owa seconding that motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations. Your amendment request has been approved.
We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right. If board members, if you will please go to the link that was shared with you. We need to record our votes.
like I haven't done anything. I'm depending on Alexander to.
Okay, we'll get your vote recorded here. We'll go ahead and let you state your reason. All right, we'll start with Dr. Hernandez.
I voted for the motion simply because the school is being responsive to community needs.
Okay, Ms. Newton.
I voted for, and I stated that it allows the school more flexibility.
Okay, Dr. Owa.
Voted for the motion because it would allow additional students in the community the opportunity to engage in an educational environment that is conducive to their needs and interests.
Ms. Turner.
I voted for the motion. It will allow and provide opportunities for more students to be served by the school.
Mr. Williams.
The move will allow students on the waiting list the opportunity to attend the schools.
And Mr. Wilson.
I voted for the motion for the same reasons as Ms. Turner.
Okay, so we are complete with that agenda item. Does anyone need to take a break from it before we move to action item 2? Okay, well, let's go ahead and move forward with our action agenda item 2 for the district conversion amendment for Cross County Elementary Technology Academy. And Ms. Boyd, you are recognized.
Thank you, Dr. Pfeffer. On January 9th, 2012, the State Board of Education approved the application for Cross County Elementary Technology Academy. The charter is approved to serve students in grades K through 6 with a maximum enrollment of 500. Representatives of the Cross County Elementary Technology Academy are appearing before the Charter Authorizing panel to request an amendment to their current charter. And I would like to specify that the panel, before you guys were appointed, during their renewal hearing, the panel requested that they revisit their goals, and that's what they've done, and that's what they're bringing before you today. From Cross County, we have Mindy Searcy, who is the elementary principal, and Stephen Prince, who is the high school principal.
Will the representatives from Cross County Elementary Technology Academy and anyone speaking in opposition please stand to receive the oath? Okay, if you'll raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, we are ready for you to begin your presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for letting us come back.
And if you would go ahead and state your name.
I'm sorry. Mindy Searcy, the elementary principal at Cross County. After attending the ADE's Academic Accountability and Standards for Accreditation webinar and learning about the state's new accountability system under Every Student After the Every Student Succeeds Act, we designed our proposed charter goals. And after sitting down with our new ACT Aspire scores and really digging into those and seeing the improvements that we made, we were able to set a trend for our test data. We would like for our new literacy goal to be that we will increase the percentage of students who are scoring in the ready and exceeding categories by 3 percentage points each year. After year 5 of our last year of this charter, we will be at 69.99%. If we continue that data and we follow the ESSA goal, after 12 years, we will be at 80%. We will exceed that, and we will be at 90%. For math, we would like for our new math goal to be an increase of 2 percentage points. After year 5, that will put us at 76.82%, and it will be the same after year 12. We will be at 90%. We believe that these goals will serve our students, our families, and our community, and at the same time, they are rigorous for our students. Mr. Prince is going to talk to you just for a minute to explain why our charter is so important for our high school students.
I'm Stephen Prince, the principal of Cross County High School, a new tech school. Ms. Searcy is, her academic rigor with her goals and what she does with her students is outstanding, and with those goals and her curriculum practices, she does prepare our students to be better successful when they transfer to us, the high school, as 7th graders, So with our new partnership with KIPP Delta, we have high expectations at the high school, and with her curriculum practices and instruction, we are able to better prepare our students to be successful when they come, so they're successful when they come to us, and then when we are preparing them to be successful in their post-secondary experiences. And so I just wanted to make sure to kind of talk a little bit about that.
So, are you finished with your presentation at this time then? Okay. Ms. Boyd, is there anyone else that would need to speak? Okay. You have an additional 5 minutes if you want to say anything, or we can go ahead and proceed to questions.
We can brag for just a minute. After receiving our second year of ACT Aspire data, we grew 6% in English, 5% in reading, 24% in writing, 3% in science, and 9% in math. And that 24%, we give all of the praise and glory to our TAP strategies that we have, which is when we came in December, we really bragged on implementing TAP and how well that works for our school. And we used a plan and write strategy school-wide in writing, and we were really excited when the 24% came back.
Thank you for sharing that information with us. That's it's always great to hear about those accomplishments, and it's even better when you have been intentional and you're able to come back and tell us this is what we've done and these are the results. So we appreciate you for sharing that. Panel members, I'll go ahead and start on the other end. Ms. Turner, do you have any questions to start with? No? Ms. Newton, a question? Mr. Wilson? Okay. Questions over here? No questions? Okay. Oh, okay. We do have a question, Dr. Hernandez.
I do have a question. Do y'all have razors in Cross County? Razors, shaving razors?
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious. I saw the guy. That was my only question.
I agree.
I did not know where that question was going for a minute, so I was getting a little worried there. All right. So just to summarize, you all have looked at the state's ESSA plan and long-term goal, and you've set your goal on a trajectory that would exceed that goal, where your students over a 12-year period would be reaching 90% who are ready or exceeding expectations. Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate your presentation, and panel, if we don't have any questions at this time. Ms. Davis, are there any issues? No issues? Okay. So at this time, if we're ready for a motion, I'll accept a motion.
Make a motion to approve the amendment.
I have a motion from Dr. Hernandez to approve the amendment.
Second.
Second from Ms. Newton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations. Your amendment request has been accepted, and if you'll wait just a moment, we'll record our responses and give you feedback. While they're typing in their responses, I will just say, I know several months ago when the panel questioned you and challenged you to go back and look at your goals. I know that with the, at that time, the ESSA plan had not been finalized, and there were a lot of questions around accountability in general, and I do appreciate you all for really digging in and learning more and sitting down and doing this work, because I know sometimes it may seem like things maybe are just trying to be more difficult, but I think just hearing you today talk, it is evident that you've spent some time to really do this, so I appreciate that. Okay, so with our responses, Dr. Hernandez?
I made the motion because the amendment lines that goes with ESSA and the charter renewal application that was previously approved.
Ms. Newton, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Newton, you're still
For
talking.
districts, I voted yes, and my reason was the district's plan to address accountability around ESSA requirements are aligned.
Dr. O.
I voted yes because the request is aligned with the expectations of ESSA, and the school team did complete the request of the previous charter panels.
Okay. Ms. Turner?
I voted yes, and the amendment provides the district with more focus on improvement and higher expectations for students.
Dr. Williams?
I voted for the adjustment of the goals, increase the expectations of its students, and I believe this is a win for the students, the parents, and the teachers. Everyone involved.
Mr. Wilson?
I voted for the motion. I understood or understand that the amendment clarifies the goals, and that sounds like a good thing.
All right. Thank you all very much. Okay, we are, it's time for agenda item 3. Are we ready to keep moving on? Okay, looks like it. So for action item 3, we have a request for a district conversion charter school, the Polk County Virtual Academy, as part of the Mina School District. Ms. Boyd, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Polk County Virtual Academy is a proposed district conversion public charter school in the Mina School District. The applicant is requesting to serve students in grades K through 12 with a maximum enrollment of 200. ADE staff reviewed the application and concerns were shared with the applicant for response. The application, the ADE evaluation, and the applicant's response are included for your review by the Charter Authorizing Panel. Included for review, by the Charter Authorizing Panel. For Polk County Virtual Academy, the first person you'll hear from will be Benny Weston, the superintendent.
Okay, will the representatives from Polk County Virtual Academy and anyone speaking in opposition, please stand to receive the oath. Okay, if you'll raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Weston. You are recognized to begin your presentation.
Good morning. My name is Benny Weston, and I'm the superintendent of Mina Public Schools. My team and I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today for our proposal for Polk County Virtual Academy. I'm going to start this morning by sharing a condensed version of my superintendent's report from a recent board meeting. I will begin by asking a few questions that we ask ourselves. What does the future of education in Mina Public Schools look like? When does the future start? 1 year from now? 2 years? 5 years? 10 years? At what point do we want our students to compete in a worldwide economy utilizing 21st century strategies? Do we continue to offer only traditional education, and or do we become innovative and offer individualized learning plans as ESSA requires? Or do we just sit here until this too shall pass? Our world has changed around us, therefore we must change our methods of delivery to fit today's workplace as well as higher ed. Team Mina, and that's what we call ourselves, Team Mina. Team Mina is making a wholehearted approach to reach all types and all levels of learners. We realize that we're living in an anytime, any pace, any place world of educational opportunities. And if afforded this opportunity for a virtual academy, we'll be able to offer another group of learners an alternate method of delivery that meets their needs. If we don't offer it to our students, someone else already is. After all, it has been said, if we always do what we've always done, we'll always be what we've always been. That might be okay for some folks, but does it give our learners that competitive edge? We're attempting to do something different at Mina Public Schools. We simply have to embrace the idea that it's okay to listen to our students and patrons and allow them to have a voice in their education. One of our blended learning teachers, Miss Jackson, begins each week with a motivational video in her 9th grade literacy class. The following video that we're about to see was submitted by one of her students for consideration. I hope you can appreciate the message that one student chose to voice.
Everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today on trial we have modern day schooling. Glad you could come. Not only does he make fish climb trees, but also makes them climb down and do a 10-mile run. Tell me, school, are you proud of the things you've done? Turning millions of people into robots, do you find that fun? Do you realize how many kids relate to that fish swimming upstream in class, never finding their gifts, thinking they are stupid, believing they are useless? Well, the time has come, no more excuses. I call school to the stand and accuse him of killing creativity, individuality, and being intellectually abusive. He's an ancient institution that has outlived his usage. So, Your Honor, this concludes my opening statement, and if I may present the evidence of my case, I will prove it. Proceed. Exhibit A. Here's a modern-day phone. Recognize it? Here's a phone from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Stay with me. Here's a car from today, and here's a car from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Well, get this. Here's a classroom of today, and here's a class we used 150 years ago. Not only that a shame, in literally more than a century, nothing has changed. Yet you claim to prepare students for the future? But with evidence like that, I must ask, do you prepare students for the future or the past? I did a background check on you and let the record show that you were made to train people to work in factories, which explains why you put students in straight rows, nice and neat, tell them sit still, raise your hand if you want to speak, give them a short break to eat, and for 8 hours a day, tell them what to think. Oh, and make them compete to get an A. A letter which determines product quality, hence grade A of meat. I get it. Back then, times were different. We all have a past. I myself am no guy. But today, we don't need to make robot zombies. The world has progressed. And now we need people who think creatively, innovatively, critically, independently, with the ability to connect. See, every scientist will tell you that no two brains are the same. And every parent with 2 or more children will confirm that claim. So please explain why you treat students like cookie cutter frames or snapback hats, giving them this one-size-fits-all crap. Sorry, Your Honor, but if a doctor prescribed the exact same medicine to all of his patients, the results will be tragic. So many people will get sick, yet when it comes to school, this is exactly what happens. This educational malpractice, where one teacher stands in front of 20 kids, each one having different strengths, different needs, different gifts, different dreams, and you teach the same thing the same way? That's horrific. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant should not be acquitted. This may be one of the worst criminal offenses ever to be committed. And let's mention the way you treat your employees. Objection overruled. Oh my goodness. It's a shame. I mean, teachers have the most important job on the to be used and should be abandoned. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if we continue down this road, the results will be lethal. I don't have much faith in school, but I do have faith in people. And if we can customize healthcare, cars, and wages, as our duty to do the same for education, to upgrade and change and do away with school spirit, because that's useless. Unless we're working to bring the spirit out of each and every student, that should be our task. No more common core. Instead, let's reach the core of every heart in every class. Sure, math is important, but no more than just give people a chance. I never sound like a dream. Countries like Finland are doing impressive things. They have shorter school days. Teachers make a decent wage. Homework is non-existent, and they focus on collaboration instead of competition. But here's the kicker, boys and girls. The educational system outperforms every other country. Other places like Singapore are succeeding rapidly. Schools like Montessori, programs like Khan Academy, there is no single solution. But let's get moving. Because while students may be 20% of our population, they are 100% of our future. So let's attain to their dreams. And there's no telling what we can achieve. This is a world in which I believe. A world where fish are no longer forced to climb trees. I'll rest my case.
Good morning. I'm Paulette Scherer, Federal Programs Coordinator for Mina Public Schools. As we may not agree with every point made in the video we just watched, this is a powerful message from the voice of one of our learners. Our students are 100% of our future. Our vision is to help all learners discover and achieve their dreams. Our student stakeholders deserve a voice and a choice in their own learning, and we will offer individualized student learning opportunities. We eagerly anticipate partnering with our future Polk County Virtual Academy applicants. These are just a few examples of glimpses into the interest of our stakeholders. We have met many students and their parents whose stories have guided us in this pursuit. We brought our jump drive into laptop, but I know you've got it going on.
Pause the clock, so this is not how you finish your time.
We're not eating.
I don't want to make it nervous either.
Plenty of time.
We allow this if possible, yes. While we're doing this, we do appreciate having Dan with us. I know hard sometimes to give up the day, but it makes a huge difference for us when we.
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me to go over ahead. Now give it a,
Okay, thank you.
give it a try now. There you go.
Perfect. There. Okay, that's where we were. We've met many students and their parents whose stories have guided us in this pursuit. Based on verbal feedback from students and parents and perception survey data from before, during, and after our public meeting, we are excited to offer partnering for place and pace. We will be offering choices to multiple populations, including homeschooled, homebound, at-risk, and accelerated learners. Polk County Virtual Academy will offer child-centering curriculum provided by Arkansas certified teachers. This unique and flexible offering of learning paths will be individualized for each student to discover and achieve. At this point, we have yet to meet our Polk County Virtual Academy students. Applications will be accepted and applicants will be chosen on a first-come, first-served basis. Upon meeting our PCVA students, we will partner with each learner to create a personalized student success plan based on pre- and post, online or on-site assessments to determine the appropriate grade level curriculum for each student. Polk County Virtual Academy students will be offered the same quality education with equitable learning opportunities as our Mina public school students and will have the required 23 or more credits for graduation. We have a goal of valuing variety and voice. Each one of our Polk County Virtual Academy learners will come to us with their own unique qualities and needs. We are offering a variety of learning opportunities to meet those needs of each learner. We will comply with all state and federal special education provisions. We will equitably provide all Polk County Virtual Academy students with the services afforded to our Mina public school students. We will offer social experiences to foster a personal learning community through face-to-face interactions, field experiences, on-site learning opportunities, service projects, and extracurricular activities where they will blend with our Mina public school students. We also value the variety and voice of our parents and community stakeholders. We will engage in ongoing communication and gain valuable feedback through parent panels, community cohorts, student dialogue, and perception surveys. Our vision for this Polk County Virtual Academy is to expand our educational opportunities to better meet the needs of present learners in our community. While offering this individualized plan, our goal for each learner remains accomplishing academic achievement. Through our various methods and fully aligned courses, our expectation will be for our Polk County Virtual Academy learners to meet state-established guidelines for ready or exceeding proficiency levels. Thomas Edison said, "There's a way to do it better. Find it." Team Mina believes we have found that way. We appreciate the panel's time today as we follow our own individualized path of innovation and seek approval to begin this journey of offering students the option of becoming learners of the Polk County Virtual Academy. Thank you.
Please state your name for the record.
Good morning. I'm Jeannie Smith, Assistant Superintendent of Mina Public Schools. Before the panel asks your questions, I respectfully request you to allow me to tell about our experience with the district conversion charter school application. Due to data from homeschool numbers, parent requests, and school board member concerns, Team Mina began the journey focused on the goal of starting a virtual academy for students seeking a non-traditional avenue of education. None of us had ever attempted anything of this nature, so the application process was overwhelming, especially requesting the waivers. When the waiver request review was sent back for further explanations, the legal comments triggered the realization that the Mina School District was creating a new school that should operate and offer equitable educational services and programs that our other schools were providing. To quote Mark Goodman, forward-thinking people in education institutions are driven by their strong visions and missions. They are willing to take on a certain amount of risk to achieve growth, improve outcomes, and/or increase user satisfaction. When confronted by a shift in pedagogy, they exhibit the courage to take leaps of faith when needed, even if limited evidence exists that greater results can be achieved. I know that Team Mina is willing to meet any challenge in order to successfully launch Polk County Virtual Academy. We welcome your questions at this time.
Okay, so Ms. Boyd, is there anyone else to speak? All right. Well, we will go ahead and move to questions then. Would anybody like to volunteer to start? Okay, I'll let Ms. Newton, then we'll go to Ms. Turner.
What I wanted, two or three questions. The first one would be, what is the anticipated increase in enrollment for this initiative? And what are the plans of the district to address, as opposed to blending these young people into programs, assuming, you gave a wide list of the number of the categories of students that are going to be involved in this recruitment, given their diverse needs and for ancillary services. It's reasonable to expect that they cannot be blended into the system as it exists now. So what are plans for the increases as it relates to staff and other ancillary services that are certainly going to be needed for this population of young people?
Currently, in the first year, we asked to have an enrollment cap of 25, and many of our administrators and other people that we have talked to were concerned at such a low number. We also talked about just limiting it to high school. And again, I had opposition to that because they wanted it open to K-12 students. So when we talked about what we really wanted the academy to be, we settled, we went K-12 in our population, and we are looking at 25 students because we want to get our feet on the ground. We want to establish how it is going to be started, and we want to do it right. We want to get everything in place before we start increasing our enrollment. We looked at 25 students the first year, increased to 50 the next year, with a total of 200 when we got to the end of our application process.
Well, that explanation was my concern because of the range of K through 12. I had the opportunity to visit a charter in Bauxite yesterday that does have the virtual capacity on campus, and talk to them about the needs of individual students as it relates to needing help in different areas. And certainly K through 12, that range, so you could potentially have students that run the gamut in terms of what their needs are based on staff. So it looks to strain staff more to me than it would be, and I'm not an educator, so but as a parent and as someone that would look at the benefit of virtual education, that would be a concern.
What we really had in mind for the extended services was to, for example, if we had a first grade student enrolled in the virtual academy, and they needed to see the nurse, or they wanted to do the vision testing. We would send that student to our K-2 campus to have those services provided. If we had a high school senior that needed services, that student would go to the high school to receive the services. If we had GT students that wanted to participate in our GT programs, they would go to the appropriate building for that service. That's what we had envisioned to happen.
Ms. Newton, is your question more related though, if you have, let's say these 25 students, let's say you have 2 students in each grade level, is your question more around the curriculum, the instruction, the everyday aspect of how do you meet all those needs? Could you also get a little bit to that?
I'm sorry, I thought
your curriculum and your learning management platform and who's going to be teaching?
Sure. The first 2 to 3 years, we will be purchasing an online curriculum from the state-approved vendors list, and the representative that I have spoken with has said that each course would be taught by an Arkansas certified teacher on the appropriate grade level.
So the virtual approach would meet that need, but individually, if young people had problems, the point of having it on campus, because another question I had would have been, or is, what would differentiate the Mina district from the virtual companies that now offer virtual education for students? So I'm looking to hear what makes you different.
Okay. As far as the face-to-face, we are offering tutoring services after school or whenever. We have looked at online means of having some of our teachers available to these students who are taking the online classes.
I'll speak a little to it. Okay. Some of the way this was conceptualized was through our stakeholders' feedback to us. Ms. Smith and I have parents often come to the central office, and they are explaining to us opportunities for us to meet their needs. And some of what we are hearing in our rural community is they want to be involved in our school with library, music, PE, counseling, GT, athletics, band, choir. They want to maybe come for a certain aspect. But one thing that we hear is the start time of the day does not suit their needs. So we don't have a waiver for our traditional students to augment the time of their day, but we have heard and we have names and phone numbers of people that if we get this approved are very interested in, I see it as a partnership with our homeschool population specifically, that they know they are taxpayers and we are benefiting from that, and then they're having to, in addition, purchase curriculum for their child to be educated at home. And they are coming to us saying that they would partner with us, allow their child to participate in an academy of ours where we would be educationally, equitably advancing their child, but then they could, from a menu of options, choose Tuesday library, choir, a field trip, helping with many of our social projects that are going on right now with our students, and not feel isolated, but they don't want to jump in fully traditional either. So that is what helped guided us.
I'm thinking that trying to be sensitive to the things we hear from teachers, like give me one more thing to do.
Yes. So
I'm wondering, my question specifically is how do you plan to increase the capacity of your staff to be able to, what plans do you have to grow your staff to the extent that they can incorporate Because, just putting one thing, another thing on an already crowded plate, seems to address in theory, but in practice, how do you plan to adjust to make this something that is accomplishable based on the fact that you've got the resources? So that's an
excellent and valid question. And we met with our full staff, K-12, and we rolled out this presentation with them, and we asked them for their feedback with this because we knew we were representing them when we came. And one of the aspects internally to our district right now is vertical alignment with the use of Google Classroom. Just for our students that aren't in attendance at school one day, they can not miss one beat by using the Google Classroom platform at home right now. Or we have homebound students for medical reasons at this time that are still able to keep up with their work using Google Classroom. So we are not maxed at the moment with our student to teacher ratio at this time. So when our traditional teachers continue to incorporate and use a Google Classroom platform to its full benefit, then if we have the opportunity, we could move from vendor-purchased curriculum and assign those virtual students to our teachers, and they will be doing no more than they would be doing anyway for the traditional human bodies in their classroom. We would just be able to access and give that course code or that material to the virtual student that is choosing to learn in a different place or at a different pace.
So does the 25 that you anticipate, having a number to say this is our plan and this is what we can absorb, as opposed to, concrete and you may or may not have that, but, just saying based on what we have now and based on what we plan, we can incorporate this number into different grades. You say K through 12, you say we have capacity in K through 3 to do 5, we have capacity in high school to do based on the teachers, and that's what I was searching for.
Yes, we do have that room.
Could you share it with us?
We have that capacity to incorporate students, but at this time, year one, we wouldn't be asking any teacher to add a child to their roster because we will vendor purchase the curriculum. And so the vendor purchased teacher would be their teacher of record.
Ms. Turner? Thank you. I have a couple of questions. One is, in your application, looking at your public meeting and the attendance, and I know several school personnel would be parents as well, but there were only 2 parents on the list. So can you tell me a little more about your stakeholder support? I just want to hear a little more about that.
Since the public meeting, there has, before the public meeting, there were 2 articles in the local newspaper concerning the Polk County Virtual Academy. And I think that we gained much support from those 2 articles that were published. People come to us instead of in a meeting. We see lots of parents come and visit with us individually, and they don't necessarily come to a meeting, but they do come to school and they do tell us what they are looking at as pros and cons. We met with our teachers. We try to involve the community in many, many ways. Our school board meetings, our school board members are very supportive of this option that we are trying to provide for our community, the wants of our community. They hear the same things that we hear. We would do something else if you had it available. We would come back to your school if you could offer us a different way to educate our children. So in a small community like Mina, that is the best way that we have to communicate with our parents. They don't necessarily like to come to meetings and speak out. They want to tell us in a more personalized way.
I'll say something right here. This is my 28th year in education, all of which have taken place in Mina. So I was hired as a first grade teacher, then I taught third grade, then I was literacy specialist, then I was building principal, and now I'm at the central office. So going to see Ms. Scher at the central office is a way they feel like they have a voice in the change in the district, just because I've been there. It's someone that they know is a stakeholder from within. All three of my personal children graduated from this school. I have an investment in it. There has been a growing population over the years in our home school. Our numbers now are at 139. Some of these kids we have never educated. 139 students, and the largest majority have never been a student of ours. It wasn't a student that got upset with us and left. It was a student that, as of a 5-year-old, never chose us to begin with. But they come to us saying, we love aspects of the educational quality that you're offering, but we are asking you to partner and tailor it in a different way. So we feel we have a quality educational traditional system. We are being innovative with our AE and our hub and our 9th grade blended learning, but it's still not reaching our entire population. And so we are mainly trying to reach that growing population of learners that we feel we can benefit in a way that we are not presently offering at this time.
And I'll mention we're very blessed in Mina to be a small community. We have 2 newspapers, 2 radio stations, and a whole bunch of folks that use social media.
And another thing I'd like to hear you, I've not heard mention career and technical education and how you plan on doing that in a virtual setting. We do require, and there are some things that cannot be taught virtually. And so I'd like to hear what you have to say about that in your plan.
Again, when we realized that we are starting a virtual academy, we realized that we could offer those students any of the programs that we have in our regular school if they choose.
And I'll say this, you being from Department of Career, I know you know about Mina, Arkansas, because we have wonderful career ed programs. And we plan on trying to expand those as well. But that's the very reason that some of these folks have requested to be able to do this, is to get the curriculum for the basic courses and come to our school and participate in some of our career programs.
And would those students be allowed to be in the student organization as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dr. Owen, you have a question?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Quick question about, I know, and if you shared it, I apologize, but for my understanding, I know you've mentioned about the different services that you provide for your GT students, students with an IEP,
Yes,
and L students. Transportation is a concern for me. I haven't really mentioned that. How would you coordinate transportation to ensure that all of those individual students receive those services when they need those services, as well as guidance services as they matriculate through grade levels and prepare for graduation? How would you ensure that those students are receiving those services in a timely manner?
We wrote in our plan that each student would have a student success plan, and that plan would be reviewed annually. just as we do with our regular students. The transportation would, and we had a discussion about this yesterday, was the reason I'm kind of smiling. When we have IEP conferences, we do not provide transportation unless it is requested by the parent. And one of our principals had a story to go along with that. A mother that had, it wasn't any special conference, it was just a conference, and she called the principal and said, "I can't come." And the principal said, "Is there a problem?" "Well, I don't have a way to get there. I'll be right after you." You know, we are going to treat our virtual students just like we do our regular students. We will help in any way we can. As far, for example, if we had a field trip and there was a special needs student that should go on the field trip, we have the transportation and we'll provide that transportation.
So a follow-up. So you mentioned the student success plan.
Yes.
So there's meaningful dialogue that takes place between a student and the counselor. So will that dialogue about the plan take place on the phone, virtually, or in person? And then if it's in person, that's the question I have about transportation. How would you meet the transportation needs of those students?
Let me touch on transportation just a second. We have 21 bus routes, and we have a fleet of 27 buses. We require all of our coaches to have a CDL, and most of our administrators have a CDL. And we have employees that work throughout the day shuttling kids back and forth to our local community college. And so we have both the personnel as well as the fleet for these types of situations, I think, that you're speaking to, in order to be able to transport those folks if required to do so, and if requested to do so, I should say. Okay.
Dr. Williams.
Two questions. The first, what prompted this? Just what's the backstory? Why this, why now?
We have a very visionary leader, and
when he sees a problem in the schools, especially with our enrollment, he is going to search out and find where we could improve enrollment. And we felt like this was a very needed service to offer to our families in Mina. So when he said, let's try this, let's go and see if we can establish a virtual academy. The rest of us didn't have much choice. We jumped on board and we went through the process.
The other part of that backstory too is we feel like we have benefited from the pilot year of the advancement of our AE into the AE hub, where students are virtual learners. They come in later, they leave earlier, but they still, and Mr. Hobson, I'm doing his speech, he's our AE administrator, but they still have the socialization, they're doing the field experiences, they're doing the project learning, they're mentoring on our other 3 campuses.
And I'm not sure if the other panel members probably don't understand when you say AE Hub.
Okay.
Maybe if we could get them just a very brief update on what's already in place, because sometimes just having that understanding helps.
Okay.
State your name and your position.
I'm Mike Hobson. I'm the Alternative Education Administrator for the district. 2 years ago, we felt like we had a need to change our alternative learning environment from a punitive, more of a punitive setting to a more positive setting.
Even though it was an yearly award-winning program, we still recognized there was a need.
The need there was because of the environment. Our students didn't have a good self-esteem. The year before we changed the program, we graduated 1 from alternative ed. Last year we graduated 18. and we're wanting to expand on that. But the thing we've done is we've changed our whole thought process, and it's almost to the point now where it's an application process to get in alternative learning. We do partner with community partners. We volunteer. We do a lot of service learning projects. Our goal is to give our students that are alternative learners a purpose for education. Matter of fact, one of our students who missed 80 days last year has missed one this year, and he will tell you, I have a purpose, and his purpose is technology. He works in our technology department. So what we've done with the service learning, the community partnerships, moving these kids all over the district and all over town to use these service projects and community partnerships as part of their education, because they are required to write about it, to use math in it, to know the history of it, to know the science of it. They get a deeper understanding of hands-on education through AE, through the hub, and the hub is connected to our JAG program. So what they refer to is, or our program is, we took a chance on it because we had a population of kids that we knew did not feel part of our district. And we took that chance. We made a huge difference in those students' lives. We know there's a huge need with another population. And we think we can connect, I know we can connect community partnerships, volunteerism, service learning projects in our school to improve these students' education. So that's what we want to do.
I'll just follow up with that and ask a question, and please don't take it as I'm trying to insult anyone, but if you've watched early morning news, have you seen K12.com advertised? Have you seen Virtual Arkansas advertised? Have you seen a lot of these other schools, Fayetteville, Springdale, all of those that are advertising to come into our district and take our kids? And so we have a passion for education, and we feel like you keep your kids, we're going to keep our kids, and we want to provide whatever is necessary for that child to be educated. And so that it drives us. That's what it's about.
Okay, I was going to do you have a question first, Dr. Hernandez? You have a minute.
I just had some clarification on that. He was talking about his alternative ed hub, and he mentioned JAG. JAG is Jobs for Arkansas's Graduates, and it's a program it's a national program through Career Technical Education that assists students with barriers to completion of high school. And I just wanted the panel to know what that was. And those students do come to school part of the day and work part of the day in the community.
And I will interject this. We have a JAG program in our alternative ed program, but we also have one in our regular ed program as well. And they too are award winning.
Thank you for that clarification. So, and for the panel members, Mr. Weston mentioned this. We do have other school district conversion charters that are a virtual charter blend where students can do all of their education virtually, or they can do some virtually, some at the school district. So their application here is basically still providing that quality educational experience for their traditional K-12 students on campus, but also then reaching out to say, we recognize that we have students who may not be part of our school system, and here's an opportunity for students who may want to be part of our school system, and but the manner in which you are accessing your educational opportunities may be very flexible. They may be coming an hour or two a day for a career ed course. They may be coming for extracurricular activities, band, choir. That may be coming on campus, maybe for some advanced placement or concurrent opportunities. And then again, you have that digital platform. So I just kind of wanted to let you all know this is
This is something also that we've seen with some of our other school districts. Do you want to go ahead with a few of your questions?
Okay. I know there is some mention in the application of Virtual Arkansas, and I know they work with the AE hub, and so have you guys settled on a provider yet as far as who you guys are going to use for your online learning?
We have talked to two different companies. One was Edmentum, and the other was Fuel Ed. We have not finalized or have a contract with either one.
And one of the reasons I asked that is I know you did originally ask for the waiver concerning licensure and then rescinded it. And part of the, just trying to think through some that have been successful have asked for that. And the reason being is that all of these outside providers, sometimes getting them license requirements because they're online teachers. I'm just wondering if y'all thought all the way through that process of rescinding that.
Of course, I'm depending on the word of a salesman. But when I called back and asked that question, he assured me that his teachers were Arkansas certified teachers.
Dr. Hernandez, that was one of the first things that we broached when we started talking about this, was to be absolutely certain that whoever did instruct would be certified for our state, because we realize the ramifications of that. And so we have not selected a vendor because it depends if we get approved or not, you know, with that process. But we've never done it before. There's probably some things that we're going to have to learn on the fly. So we realize that. And we are passionate about education, and you know that. And so we pull the State Department goals and objectives out, and we looked at ESSA, and we've looked at all of those things. And we feel like that, quite frankly, we are attempting to do what the governor as well as the state board would like to see us do, and the department in the state. And so that drives us. The need for kids that are out there that we're not reaching at this time, but have been reached out to by parents and by patrons, asking us to do some of these things. And we started to bring some with us, but we thought, no, we don't have time for that. But we feel like that this is a definite need in our area.
And I just raised it just to, you know, if the application is successful, that, you know, there's possibilities to come back for amendments again.
Sure.
Because I know you asked for it and rescinded it, so I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't something.
And just let me say this about that, if you don't mind. I'm a superintendent, so you know I'm going to talk. In beginning this whole process, we really did not have a clear understanding of what waivers we did need or didn't need. So we did, like a lot of coaches do, we borrowed from other folks that have been here before us. And we talked and we visited with those folks and we asked about those. Well, we understand laws have changed since then. So all of those waivers are not now required as were in the beginning. So.
In your application, you talk about giving the equipment to students. And so, you know what I mean is that sometimes challenges for broadband, depending on which provider you use, you know, there may be some limitations in regards to access at home. And so you guys have an idea or a plan of what you're going to do with that?
Well, as a matter of fact, we talked about that on the way over here this morning. Because, you know, for Mina, we had quite a bit of time to talk. And so we talked about those issues and those things, and we understand there are going to be some barriers, and there's going to be some, some things that we're going to have to be very creative in being able to provide and do. And we feel like that we have the people in place from not only these folks, but also from our technology division at our school, we feel like that we have the people in place to help us and do everything that we can to do it. Would we be able to reach every single one? Well, probably not, because some of them you can't get there with a car. And so, but we're going to do everything that we possibly can. We've made a commitment to that. We don't have all the answers, but we'll search out and do whatever we can to make it possible.
Ask a little bit different way. If a student does make an application next year and does not have broadband at home, will you guys be providing that broadband access?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have spoken with our technology department, and fortunately we have 3 different providers in the Mina area, and one provider may work in certain areas better than another provider. And of course, we will search out which provider, what service, and how well it works, and make sure that we are trying to provide everything that we can.
Now, I would just encourage you, as you're looking at these providers, that those are some of the questions you ask, because I'll just give you a perfect example. If you have Netflix and you have Hulu sometimes has more demand on the internet because video and some of the teaching and stuff, just for X design. So I just encourage you to ask those kinds of questions when they're sometimes listening or good at that, and you want to make sure that it does function well.
Thank you for that advice.
Okay. Dr. Williams?
Yes, you're looking at 25 students, K through 12. How will this work for your elementary kids? I'm just trying to, the virtual aspect of this. Can you all just it's been a while since I've been in the classroom, so I can understand the secondary and the technology and so forth. For the elementary kids, I'm not quite there yet.
I'm glad you asked. I'm secondary trained. We have 2 elementary principals, former elementary principals right here, and they've got it all worked out, so I'm going to let them speak.
The vendor-provided curriculum would have a human teacher that would be on, like, the FaceTime aspect, so the learner would be listening to and following a human educator. And then what we might think is a technological barrier with them actually keying in or uploading information, we have been put at ease just with this year's digital testing now that is going on at our K2 campus. And our adults had anxiety about how this would happen. Our learners walked in and was like, hey, it's computer lab, there's just a few more facilitators, and they took their first tests online. So we are aware that the learner we are now targeting is in a digital age where they are more comfortable with the technology than some of our present high school students that haven't been raised in that same vein. But again, we feel we have an excellent traditional setting. We would love for them to come and join Mina Public Schools. But this is a choice that a parent is making. I feel they would have to support and be a part of their child's education if they're choosing fully virtual at that age. But again, it is a choice they're asking for. We're asking to provide that choice. So.
Well, I appreciate your comments there, because I look at the numbers. The numbers are relatively small, and I almost wonder, is it do you really have to have another school? You sound like just listening to your presentation there on the AE and so forth. You're already integrating technology in such a way within the school. Do you really need another school to make this happen?
Well, we have a wonderful school. We have a fantastic district. We have wonderful community, wonderful people. But there's a faction of students that we're not reaching. And we're not satisfied with that. We want to reach all of the students and not that they're not being reached, but we feel like Mina Public Schools has something to offer. And we feel like this virtual academy will help us offer that. And it may integrate them back into our regular ed. We want them to feel like that our school, as the hub of our community, is offering what is needed to be offered educationally in Mina. And if we can gain another group of learners, we feel like we're setting a great example. And we feel like that maybe we're missing some of them because they're just not the traditional education type student. For some reason or another, they choose not to come to us. We're trying to figure out what that reason might be, and we have actually heard from 20 or so of these folks that they would like to see something like this provided. Now, we started with a low number, 25, because we realize we need to grow into this. And we realize that we need to take our time and we need to do it right. Because, sir, you don't know me, but we don't accept failure. And so we feel like that by starting small, growing into it, it's going to give us the opportunity to grow along with it and to become what we need to be for these kids.
And if I may go ahead and ask a couple of questions, this is kind of a follow-up to Dr. Williams. Ms. Sherry, you were talking a little bit about, especially at the early age, we know every student will have a student success plan that is the foundation to move forward in making those decisions in their curriculum and what they're doing virtually or if they're participating. But for those younger children, what is the plan to ensure that's, and I guess it might be the more of who will be kind of following them, and as you said, the parents should be very involved in this process as well, but what is the plan to kind of keep the parent-school connected since the curriculum will be delivered from that platform where the teacher is not a teacher within your school system?
We will, first of all, always offer, if they cannot come to us, we would go to them. We do that as administrators now. So if we need to go to the home and help create the student success plan, we will so do that. We also have an area it's in our district campus, but it is not presently assigned to any campus, that we would like to basically market it as our Polk County Virtual Academy building, where we will have our support systems there and times available where the students can come to get, if they want on-site assessments, if they don't want to do it online, if they want our tutoring services, if the parents want to come and help us plan what a daily schedule looks like. We realize we're asking for the support of a parent to help in the education platform when they are probably not an educator. So we don't have a problem with sitting down and even saying, what does your day look like? One example is a working mother that said to me, when my child gets on a bus, I am not home. When my child gets off the bus, I am not home. When I am home, my child is in bed. I choose to homeschool my child so I can be with my child for the times she is available to be in the home. So we could sit down with her and script a schedule of learning around her job so that she could be in a support phase to that child. But we would always have the option of, do you want to come on site? Do you want to come and gain any valuable information you can from our already educated professionals that are available for you? And I think some will accept that. Oh, yes, and we will have a director, if that's what you're asking. We will have a director of the entire services, and we also have some people planned within their schedule allotment already that can support the Polk County Virtual Academy in addition to the task they do for us in the district at present.
Okay. thank you. And my other question was related to the goals that you have outlined here. I'm noticing that in terms of the reading and math proficiency in writing, that the goal is set at the 60% scoring ready or exceeding. Can you explain a little more about that? Like at what point would you expect that? And in terms of thinking longer term, aligning, as you heard of previous charter, you know, they had come back and it had adjusted the goals to be more in line with new accountability.
And when I wrote those goals for the achievement, I was looking at another example, and as we were going through and reviewing, after we got your comments back, we thought about, okay, we should put down what the state expects all of our children to do, and expect that from the virtual academy also. I noticed that on our website requirements, there's a new level of school improvement, and I have forgotten what the new ones are, by May 2018. So I didn't have that information when the goals were set. So I will have to go back and look and revise those. Just
so I guess I don't want to impose on you what you're putting in the application. So am I hearing, well, how would I do this without trying to put words in your mouth? What are you thinking?
What we are thinking is that we will need the
same guidelines for a student achievement that is set by the state for all students. That's what I am thinking now.
That would be a revision. Is that correct? That would be a revision.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That would be. And as we agree on
right.
the terms here today. So you're aligning with the accountability goals that will be in place.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Yes, yeah, I know that. So do we have some additional panel questions before we go through? Because I know that we had some questions about the application that we're going to need to check on. So Dr. Williams, and then we'll come to Mr. Wilson, okay?
What about your current students? Will this opportunity be available for them also?
Yes.
Okay.
That your target population that you want to attract back into the school system would be those homeschool kids, is that correct? 139, I believe you said. It's all children, but yes, it is. Do you plan to, if you're successful in this, plan to contact those folks directly and go down there? Those folks, there's a large contingency in Mina, and some of them are church associated and some of them are not. But all different groups have already reached out to our principals and had discussions with them if and when and what and all of those type questions. So most of those groups have pinpointed certain people to represent them as far as finding out information and those kinds of things.
And just to follow up with that, to be equitable, we will make sure that we will use our newspaper, radios, and our district social media to let everyone know at the same time the opportunities, how they can get applications at school campuses, at our central office, and when a deadline is. Because since it is a first come, first serve, it would not be equitable if we just went down and started calling people in an order, because that would not be fair. So we want to make sure that even though we have a list of people that are already asking for this, that we want to make sure that we do it to where everyone gets the same message at the same time and has the same opportunities to be applicants.
Okay, so, Ms. Davis, I know that we've gone through quite a few questions here, and I think we're at the point now where maybe we need to start looking at the specific waivers and some of the, if there were any remaining issues that we needed to go through, so I'll let you guide us.
Okay, I do have several remaining issues. The first one is on the school year. They originally had asked for a waiver of the school year dates. So I think I was a little unclear because they say that they are going to operate on the same calendar as the Mina Public Schools. And if so, then I don't know that why a waiver is necessary, so they may have more information or...
I called and spoke to the lady that is in charge of Van Buren Virtual Academy and asked her this very question. And she told me that they had found through experience that it worked best for them if their virtual students were on the same calendar as their school calendar, the regular student calendar, because she found that if they were different, the virtual students wouldn't come when Van Buren students were out. So she said, stick to the same calendar as your regular school calendar. That was her advice to us.
So we're asking
So
to rescind that
that.
request for that waiver.
You're fine, you can leave it there. Okay, so then my next question was, and it's more just a clarification, it was on the gifted and talented. They had requested a waiver of 642-101. That one's not needed, and I suggested that they add 642-109 instead. And I think, again, I was a little confused because they said that they were no longer requesting it, and I just need to let them know that you just need to, can you just let them know that affirmatively on the record that you are requesting that?
Yes, we're requesting to not do the first one, but to do the second one.
Okay.
And Dr. Hernandez, did you have a follow-up on that?
The way it's written is saying that 642-101 is not necessary, but 642-109. So I guess my question is, the charter, conversion charter itself will not be providing GT services, but if students want that they can go on campus and receive services. And so they do need the waiver for that, or they don't?
They do. Typically, our charters get the waivers because they're not providing the services in the same manner in which the law prescribes, but they are providing those services. So
they are asking for the appropriate waivers to do that.
that is correct. So they are asking for the clarification of 642-109.
And Dr. Hernandez, we were confused on that.
It might have been, I probably
No,
confused
no,
you.
that's
That was
okay.
probably my fault. And same thing on the next one, the school nurse and the media service. I just need confirmation that they are rescinding the waivers for section 16.01, .02, and .03 of the standards for accreditation. I just need confirmation.
And that is school nurses, school media.
Yes, we are, and we have 4 nurses on our campus, and we have sufficient.
Okay. They didn't need the 3 blanket waivers because they had added on the 16.02.3, which is the specific section. I think I have one other question. Oh, okay. The last one was on curriculum. They had asked for waivers of 2 of the sections of the standards. I wasn't certain exactly what they were asking for because I know one of the section numbers is not a section in the standards. Pardon me? Okay, and then I also just wasn't sure why they were needing a waiver of the curriculum in the first place. So maybe you can...
Okay, Dr. Hernandez, you want to ask your question then?
So in reading the application, what I understood you guys are trying to do is that if students are allowed to take things like Algebra 1 or Geometry, say in 7th and 8th grade online, when they get into high school, in order to meet the 38, you want to count AP courses as part of the 38. And so, which perfectly fine. I just, what do they need to be able to do that? Is the question.
I'll verify real quick in the law just to make sure, because like I said, I wasn't exactly sure what they were asking. So if you have any other questions, if you can continue with those, then I'll get back with you in just 1 second.
So there's a few.
Okay, which list are you on right now?
I'm on the thing that say issues that remain unresolved, and it's on the very first summary page.
Okay, so Ms. Boyd, well, I know Ms. Davis is researching the answer to that question. So this page, this section relates to those that after the internal review committee had gotten feedback, there were still some remaining questions. And if the other panel members want to pull that up from the agenda, I'm just going to look at the title of it. It would be
So a number of these issues were just things that remained unclear. So I think it would just be helpful to have the applicant speak to what was meant by what they put down on paper for these issues. So the internal review committee, for the first one, the internal review committee inquired about transportation and how the students would have access to field experiences.
So if it's all right if I kind of go down through these?
That's perfect.
Some of these were addressed in the question process here, and then if panel members feel like that they weren't already addressed, then we'll chime in. But so on the first one, basically just making sure that students are going to have access to the field trips. My understanding from what Mr. Weston told us was that that with the capacity they have with their transportation and with those who are able to transport, that if a student is involved in something or wishes to be involved in something, the district is going to make the efforts to allow any and every student to be involved in the academic, co-curricular, or extracurricular. Is that an accurate reflection?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody feel that's unresolved, or we feel like we've got that? Okay. The academic achievement goals, we discussed that in the internal committee had noted something about rationale for only having 75% of students report on their project-based learning experiences. I don't think we talked about that, and I'm not, can someone speak to that part to clear that up?
I think we maybe that was misworded on our part, I think, because we want to give students choices on their service projects. And I think that's where we got confused about what percentage we were going to, well, we want all students to have a service project, but we want to give them choices in how to complete that project. Okay.
And that would fall in line with your student success plan, and then your goals, all 100% of your students will be having that success plan, and that will be monitored.
Yes. Our model is, again, off the hub, where there's multiple options. Every child does not have to participate in every option, but we can set out of 12 projects, you would have to participate in 4. But we're giving them options, but we want them 100% to fulfill their obligation.
The next section was related to the schedule of courses offered, and there are 4 bullet points that were raised there, needing some clarity around K-5 recess. Within that application, oral communications, if it's going to be offered for the full year or just for a semester. Physical education being taught at 8th grade in Arkansas, history in grades 7 or 8. So I think we might need to go back to that first one about the question around the K-5 recess, and I'm not sure for the internal review committee
why that would be raised if we're talking about a virtual environment where students may or may not be on campus. So maybe, yeah, Ms. Boyd, if you could give us clarity on that question.
So the school still has to provide a plan for accommodating or allowing for recess. It may look different than in a traditional environment, but it's part of the standards, and so the kids have to have recess time in K through 5.
Is that something that can be waived?
That was my question.
Roy Cosby from Standards is here. I think he's better equipped to answer that question.
Thought we'd give Mr. Cosby some action.
And we'll let you just kind of facilitate the discussion
Sure,
on that entire
sure.
section.
Roy Cosby, Union Leader, Standards for Accreditation. I am not aware of waivers for this. In the Standards for Accreditation, as mentioned, there's 90 minutes of physical activity required each week for students K through 6. I know this is a different environment, but that's one of the standards.
Ms. Boyd, in our other virtual schools, what goes on with that? Because I think it'd be really tough to tell parents, you got to prove your kid went outside for.
Well, in other schools, they don't have waivers of it. They, a few of them have like the parents submit like a log, like a recess log of this. My students did have a break from the learning time, and it was 30 minutes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
So we could just build in a verification statement from parents that children were getting physical breaks.
We would be glad to do that.
Right. And then,
The
have
next-
they clarified on the other scheduling issues, or are we going to need?
Okay, on the oral communications, the issue is you can teach a full year of oral communications or a semester of oral communications and a semester of drama. And I should say offer instead of teach. So that would need to be on the schedule for they to offer either a full year of oral comm or a semester of oral comm and semester of drama
For certain grade levels.
for grades 9 through 12.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have confirmed.
That wouldn't be a problem, and it would be semester. That's what we do for our regular students.
So the district will continue to offer those graduation requirements for all students.
And on the original process, there wasn't a plan for curriculum for 8th grade. I know that has been taken care of, but again, we're talking about physical education for 8th graders. That's 40 minutes a week or 1,440 minutes time for 8th graders.
Can we do a parent note like we talked about with that?
Ms. Boyd,
Would
how
it-
does
would it
that
be the
grade
same
physical
way?
education need to be handled?
The physical education is different for recess because there are standards that have to be met. So what the other virtual schools do is they create a curriculum for physical education, and it could be with videos or things of that nature for the parents to assist the students in getting that done.
If I may, as a former principal, we use the Go Noodle platform at our elementary traditional campuses, which are brain breaks of activity. It's dance along with the instructor or do aerobics or jogging in place. So bells just went off in my head that we could even offer, since it's a virtual learning opportunity and it's digital, we could offer some of those platforms along with a schedule of opportunities for them to do in activities as well. But this would be something at least an elementary K-5 child could follow that was led by video for them to get activity.
And in the 8th grade, we have that curriculum already in place, and we have that, and that would be the same as for our regular. Okay. Vendor. But I hope y'all can see the difficulty in a school district there's some unclear things that if you're applying for this type of a school, it's hard to do it all without clarifications.
Yes, sir. And what I would tell you is, we're not trying to make it difficult.
I understand that.
Where-
No, please.
Yes.
We're learning everything you say, we're learning.
And I think what we can take away from this is that in our, as these applications are being completed, and as we're looking at those requirements that maybe are under standards of accreditation or in situations to even work more closely with you so that you are not trying to come up with something on the fly. But, so it does sound like though that you will have your vendor or the district can provide the curriculum necessary for the 8th grade, and that can be documented. Okay. And the last remaining one was the Arkansas history, is that correct?
Yes. Now, there's two ways you can address this issue. Either have a semester of Arkansas history in the 7th or the 8th grade, or if you offer and teach Arkansas history in the high school, grades 9 through 12, when you do that, it becomes a graduation requirement, and then each student would have to have a semester grades 9 through 12. So they can address that either way, which is best for them.
Yes, Cliff Sheriff, Principal, Mina Middle School. Currently, we, in our traditional setting, we do Arkansas history in 7th grade, and I think since our whole idea is to be equitable with our virtual situation, as well as our traditional, that we would offer that either through our vendor, or if we had to create the own content, we can do that through Google Classroom. So.
Okay. Does that sound good, Mr. Crosby? Okay. All right. Thank you all. I think the next item has already been addressed because it was related to the licensure, and that waiver has been rescinded. The student services, those two items I think have been addressed as well. Have we addressed both of those? And then the enrollment criteria and procedures. Were there any questions related to that, Ms. Boyd, in terms of the way they would plan to do their enrollment?
That was verified. They said that they were going to use a first come, first served basis, which is fine. I just want them to acknowledge the fact that if they do first come, first serve and don't do a lottery, then the federal government won't necessarily recognize them as a charter if they should apply to the government for any kind of grant related to charter schools.
Ms. Davis, were you able to find the answer to Dr. Hernandez's question?
Yes, and as affected, they do not need a waiver, but we wanted to verify. They don't need a waiver because if they want to use courses taught in grades 5 through 8 for high school credit, the standards already allows them to. You can already count an AP course towards a graduation credit, and if they wanted to teach an AP course in lieu of the standard course, there is a process within our standards that they can go to applied, say, if no students signed up for the regular course and they were going to teach the AP course instead, there's already a process for that. So they would not need any waivers in order to accomplish what they want.
So they don't need any waivers, but they would just need to go through the process with standards of accreditation if they're going to substitute those, just like they would in their traditional K-12. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Weston, looks like y'all.
So we'll resend these two?
Yeah, we'll ask to resend those.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So, Ms. Boyd or Ms. Davis, are there any remaining issues with the application? Okay. Panel members, any remaining questions? Okay. So if not, at this time, I will accept a motion regarding Polk County Virtual Academy's application.
I move to approve the application of the Polk County Virtual Academy as,
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
And we have a second. I heard 2 seconds. I heard Dr. O was just a little bit louder.
It's bigger.
There you go. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations. Your application has been approved, and if you will give us a few minutes, we will record our responses and provide you with feedback.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr. Hernandez, we'll begin with you.
I voted for the motion. I think this will be a great addition to the Polk County community. I also highly encourage the Mina School District to reach out to the various other virtual charters around the state for guidance and support.
Ms. Newton?
I voted in support, and my reason was that.
I don't think your microphone is, maybe.
I voted in support of the motion, and my reason is that this district's desire to implement this will allow enhanced educational opportunities for students in the Mina School District.
Thank you. Dr. Oba?
Voted yes for the motion. I believe that the conversion charter will provide an innovative educational experience for students who will excel with both personalized and individualized instruction. I am concerned about the availability and timeliness of key instructional services because of the potential transportation issues.
Ms. Turner?
I voted for the motion. This district has provided opportunities for students who face barriers to graduation, and this expands opportunities for homeschool and other students who may not be successful in a traditional classroom setting.
Dr. Williams?
I voted for the motion. Conversion Charter School will provide enhanced learning opportunities such as individual learning and use of technology for students that are and those that are not currently enrolled in the public schools.
Mr. Wilson?
I voted for the motion. I was impressed with the effort to recruit or regain those youngsters who are homeschooled. I think that's a good thing that you all are doing. I hope you're very successful.
Thank you. I know it's been a rigorous conversation this morning, but hopefully you all are feeling good about going forward, and we appreciate you being here. And we also will welcome your feedback with us in terms of how do we continue to get to streamline the application process, because this is a learning experience, I think, for both school districts, open enrollment, charters, and the department. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
And congratulations. So that brings us through the items on our action agenda. We do have a work session scheduled for a little bit later. At this point, I understand that the state board last month, or at a previous meeting, has requested that the charter panel review Arkansas Connections Academy regarding their finances. So can you share a little bit more information with us?
Yes, ma'am. At the, hold on, I'm bringing it up because I want to say what it is word for word. At the September meeting, we presented the state board with the end of year reports for the new charters, and Arkansas Connections is last year was their first year. The state board was concerned about their finances, and they had a really low fund balance. And they requested that you call Arkansas Connections before them in December. And so I'll let Ms. Davis explain to you how we can handle this today to have that discussion.
So in order to add an agenda item for discussion and possible action, you will need to have a vote amongst yourselves to add it to the agenda item. Once it's been added, then you can discuss and make any decisions that you may or may not wish to make at that time, and any action after that. But you will need a motion to basically hear it.
Okay, so the request was to hear.
I can read the motion to you.
Okay.
To request that the charter authorizing panel call in Arkansas Connections Academy in December to review the finances.
If this were put on an agenda, it would be to review finances. Would it just be a hearing to review, or there could potentially be action taken by the panel based on the review, or is it to review and just to provide a recommendation? What I guess would be the steps?
Well, first, I would recommend that you have a motion amongst yourselves to even bring this item up, to put it on today's agenda for discussion. At that point, then we can discuss, and you can decide whether or not what any motion would look like, what a hearing would look like. But because this agenda item was not on the published agenda, you will need a motion.
So we need to put it on the agenda now.
Yes.
For discussion, okay. So,
Make a motion to put it on the agenda.
Second.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And so pretty much after your discussion, whatever you decide is what we'll do. So when you want to hear them, what you want to hear from them, well, if you want to hear them at all, what you want to hear from them, and what your expectations are, what kind of action we should put them on notice that you'll be making at that meeting.
And was there a reason why the state board recommended December, or is that something that we can discuss as well? Because it's my understanding we've got a pretty packed 2 days already in December.
Right. I definitely think that is something that is up to your decision whether or not you want to do it sooner or later than December. I can't recall exactly what the conversation around picking December was. I just know that they wanted to get it done. If it was a big problem, we want to uncover it sooner than later.
Panel members, any discussion? Dr. Hernandez?
Can you review again what the reason why we're voting for that?
Also, to add to that, could somebody just kind of give a quick snapshot of the school itself?
Right. So I'll send you a link with the board report for the finances. That's really what triggered the discussion. But Arkansas Connections Academy is a statewide virtual school. They operate through K-12, grades K through 12, and their platform is the Connections platform, which is run by Pearson. So a lot of the issues at the state board meeting, Ms. Cindy Smith, who's the coordinator of financial support services, she said that because the school has not been adding its financial transactions throughout the years to our AppScan system, they couldn't really speak to the fiscal viability of the school. So because it's run by a parent company, it appears that they've been running their finances through what the company uses, and they haven't been inputting the data into our state system, which everyone has to use for the financial and detailed data. So whereas with other schools, including charter schools, we would know more information about their finances, we kind of have a limited view of their finances because of the way they have not been inputting the data into our system. Additionally, their fund balance at the time this was run on August 29th was $1,000. So that's really what brought the concern.
So they don't have a waiver from inputting that information into our state system right now?
Nobody can get a waiver from asking. There's actually an assurance in the application that everyone has to state that they will use AppScan. Yeah, so I personally have been on several phone calls with Arkansas Connections with their the person who does their finances, Mr. Ben Shiflett. It's been myself and Dr. Saunders, Mr. Rogers, Ms. Smith, Ms. Crane. We've had several phone calls throughout the course of last year, mostly in the spring semester, to try to rectify this this data input situation. Yeah, so we've talked to them about it. I think that's why the state board would like for you to see them. I think that was the point, to get their attention.
When school districts, any school district doesn't do what they're supposed to do in terms of financial reporting, there are the mechanisms of withholding state fund and things like that. So I guess what I'm wondering is that something that we would do, or is that something that the department would do. Does that make sense? What I'm asking is, it seems like there could be other mechanisms besides coming from a charter panel that just curious.
I definitely understand what you're saying. In the past, when the charter office had grant money, we would withhold that grant money until they would be in compliance, and that way it wouldn't affect the foundation funding. But to answer your question, that was kind of like a midpoint to kind of have some teeth with this. But that would be an action that I would recommend coming from Mr. Rogers and not from the panel.
So we do have a request from the state board to conduct a hearing around the finances of this charter. And we do have how much notification would need to be given to the school?
Let me check. We need to check the rules to be for sure.
I think my initial was concerned just over the December agenda already, if this is going to be a pretty weighty discussion.
Yeah.
But I don't know that November really lends itself to a timeline.
We typically give them a 30 days notice. I pulled up our meeting. Hold on, let me pull it up. Let's be for sure.
Dr. Hernandez has a question. And I think it's reflective of Mr. Williams' question as well.
Right. I just have a concern if they're simply being non-compliant, that, if any other district was doing that in terms of finances, I don't know that we would put it off and have a hearing somewhere down the road to find out that they're not being compliant. I struggle with what the purpose of the meeting would be, unless they're going to come before us and ask for a waiver from submitting into AppScan, which I know we're saying that that's not allowed, but I don't know that that's more of our internal rule and not necessarily something that they can't waive.
So for the question earlier about we have to give them 20 days notification. So at any meeting that we have scheduled after this one, that we'll meet that notification threshold.
If that would be notification in terms of
I will send out
charter authorizing panel.
Yeah, if once you guys make a decision, if you want to call them in, then I'll send them a hearing letter tomorrow.
Do you want me to address Dr. Hernandez?
Is it fiscal district?
That's what I was going to.
Dr. Hernandez, Jennifer and I were talking about your question, and the law does not allow for putting charter schools in fiscal distress. So usually taking those actions fall under the fiscal distress protocol, which we don't have for charter schools.
But we do have the ability to withhold funding. And so that's the, kind of like you said, you guys used to withhold grant money. If they're not getting, funds, then I just, wonder about what we hope to accomplish by having a hearing. And then once we have a hearing, now it's December, January when some action's taken, and meanwhile, we don't know what's going to happen in between now and then.
I think that, no, I have not seen, I've only been with the department a few years, any time to where we've withheld funding. I think that the difference is because this is a charter, rather than withhold funding, knowing what it does to the students and the operation of that, then we would just revoke their charter. And that's where you come in. So I think that's kind of more it, because you have the ability to put them on probation, you have the ability to revoke their charter for noncompliance, rather than doing those measures. And I think that's kind of where, it comes before you, because you can modify their charter. You can, require them to come in quarterly with their updated app scan reports or whatever it is that you would choose to do to ensure compliance before it maybe got to a situation of completely revoking funding in the event that, because the students are going to be the ones that are suffering at that point.
If we put them on notice that the charter is in danger of being revoked, is that, if this panel does that, is that consistent with what the state board asked us to do? I'm not real clear on what the state board wants us to do except straighten it out, right?
That's a good question, Mr. Wilson. So the state board wants you to review and then make a decision based on your review. So the decision is up to you about what you want to do at the end of that review. In these situations, since you are the charter authorizing panel, action initiated on a charter has to come through you first. So the state board can't call the charters up themselves. You have to do it initially. So that's why we're doing this. That's why they asked you to review them, because you have to be the initial point of contact.
Follow up on what Amanda said, I don't want to fool around there and wait until December or January if those people are not in compliance with the requirement of submitting their financial information. It's gone on long enough. So I'd put them on notice they're going to be revoked and set it to the hearing as early as possible, as early as we can.
So you would advocate for a hearing earlier than December? You would,
If possible,
if
that's reasonable to do.
And I think then it would be a matter of trying to set a date where the panel could convene.
Well, once they get that demand, they'll straighten up pretty quick.
Currently, you have a meeting scheduled for November 15th. So you could see them then. The charter was on the phone at the state board meeting, so they know that the state board has requested your review. So the letter that we send, if you choose to review them, shouldn't be a surprise to them.
Okay. So we do have Arkansas Public School Resource Center here, and I think Mr. Smith wanted to make a comment, so we'll let him also.
Yeah, Madam Chair and members of the panel, Scott Smith with the APSRC.
Hang on just a minute. He doesn't have to be sworn in, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I don't know all the rules. I just always like to check.
You don't want me under oath. Just in response to this issue, just some background information to make you aware. I can't remember if it was Mr. Rogers or the commissioner who had made us aware of some of the frustrations on this point. We've reached out to the school. I think they are in the process of getting everything aligned. I think the description by the ADE has been accurate to this point about they were running their finances through their parent organization. I think their balances are well in advance of $1,000, but it didn't show up in the system because of the way they were running their finances. The story I heard, which how that goes, is they thought they had approval to do something different, but we made it clear to them that that's not the fact. So I hope that this issue will be quickly resolved and remedied. I understand the department's frustration because I think they have had several conversations, so I don't know what the hang-up has been, but we have had that conversation with them. Mr. Hernandez, to your point, you have greater flexibility than the fiscal distress laws under the Charter Act, so you can revoke, modify, take whatever action you want. And I think the 20-day notice will be even quicker than what they anticipated from the state board hearing, but if you're going to potentially take action on their charter, at a minimum, you have to give them 20 days notice in order to have that hearing. So just wanted to give you that background as far as additional conversations that have happened with them. And from what I understand from their conversations, they are quickly moving to try and get in line with what the state requirements are in this area. We will be happy to report back further as we try to work them through this process. We got brought into the issue late, again, based on a conversation with Mr. Rogers from the department or the commissioner. I can't remember how it came to us. any questions or comments I can.
Are you guys working pretty closely with them right now?
We have been, they have been a member, but I did, let me say, strenuously enforce the point that this stuff needs to be cleaned up and cleaned up quickly. I think they've got that understanding. And if they don't, I think they understand it's going to be enforced one way or the other. I do think there was some misunderstanding, but I also think there was some dragging of the feet for whatever reason, and that's just my opinion. But we'll see where it goes from there.
They are making efforts that you seem to get in line.
Either they will, or we'll be happy to report back to you one way or the other on this issue. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so panel, it seems that, and something I was going to ask also, Ms. Boyd, you said this issue came up at the state board meeting because of a report on, was it first year charters? Okay, do we do regular reports on that, or is it only like just with the first year?
First year, it's written in the law, it's at the end of the first semester and at the end of the second semester.
Okay, and this was the only one that...
There were only two.
Red flag.
Yeah, there were only two. The other one was Future School of Fort Smith, and the board just voted to approve the report for them.
Okay, so the only way the charter panel would really have knowledge if there were other charters with financial accounting issues or anything like that would be is if the ADE finance unit provided an update for the charter panel. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we work with the finance department to get a summary report on how all the charters are operating financially, if you like that.
Dr. Hernandez?
I don't have a motion, I just have maybe a question that may turn into a motion. But is it possible that we can request the hearing that is kind of twofold? One is that we're requesting the hearing that we may take action, but if it's reported back to us by our finance office that they are being compliant with putting information, then that hearing will then turn into a budget review meeting as opposed to something we may take action on.
Yeah. Well, one of the actions you can take is to take no action. So if they become compliant between now and then it could be a very short meeting.
Would they have the opportunity to submit information to the department prior to that hearing?
Yeah. So the question is if they'll have opportunities to submit information to the department before the meeting, of course. So if you all make a decision to review the school, we'll ask you at this time to tell us what it is you want to see from the school and what you want to see from the department, so that we'll have all that information prepared and put on the agenda prior to your meeting. And that will be put in the hearing letter. It'll be spelled out in the hearing letter what they need.
I think that could be a possibility, but the concern I would have is the state board asked us to do a review, and so would that report be given to us in a timely manner that maybe before the November state board meeting that information can be shared and addressed to see if we do need to continue on with the hearing or not? That would be I hate to say no, we're not, if they can provide us with information, we say no hearing, the state board asked us to, and so us not carrying out those wishes might be problematic.
So the state board meets on the 9th of November, and we would want to give the school as much time as possible to give us the information that we request. And so I typically upload the agenda. It would be Friday, November the 3rd, where I would typically upload the agenda. So it would be November 3rd. and then the state board will meet November 9th. I think if you set the meeting, I don't think you can cancel the meeting without having a meeting to say we don't need to have this meeting anymore.
I think, though, in terms of if we set the meeting because we have been asked to review, if this panel has concerns about waiting too long, could we go ahead, set the meeting? If things have been corrected, then it is just confirmation of the corrective action that has taken place, what the charter has learned from the process, and then could we also get an update from ADE Finance if there are concerns with other charters and reporting? Could we look at that and whether or not provide us with an update so we would know if there are other situations instead of waiting? Is that something that we could do? It would require us to go ahead and have a November meeting. Is that something that the panel would wish to hear, or do we want to just move forward with this one request based on the state board recommendation and
Fix one thing at a time.
and that is a valid point. So I think that's kind of the decision you all need to think through, and
I think that we should have the hearing or meeting based on the request, especially since it falls under the purview of what we're obligated to do as part of our duties. And if it resolves itself, then it resolves itself, and maybe that can be canceled, or maybe they can make their determination at that point. But I think it's incumbent upon us, especially with our meeting coming after the state board, and we have to pass that information on in December. But I don't see how we get out of the responsibility to do that unless we schedule it for December, and we still have conflict with dates, or we wouldn't have conflict with dates then necessarily.
if we have the meeting in December, we could do it in conjunction with one of the 2 days of the already scheduled, but then it would be January before the state board would have any information.
But the expectation would be that you guys would still be working with them to resolve it, so it wouldn't be something that was just lying dormant. But at the same time, you'd be working to resolve it, and even more time would have been passed to allow them to get into line, whatever's out of line.
And I obviously am not a state board member, but I think their intent was that if you hear it in November, you can report and have any kind of agenda item back to the state board in December. So that way, if action needs to be taken, it happens sooner rather than later, because if not, it does extend it. And so my recommendation is that if you have a meeting in November, even if they submit additional material, that the review would probably consist of not just that you manage to get the information submitted in time, but, are there obstacles that are preventing them from doing it and have been, or, kind of the bigger picture, and then report back any action or no action that you might have taken to the state board in December.
Because the budget balance that you mentioned, that was from August, correct? So we would have much more updated information when we have a hearing.
That's correct. So it sounds like you guys will choose to review, and so once you do that, I'll send them a letter, and they'll be coming on November 15th, and then and then after that, you also want a report on how the other charters are faring financially. Well, that's what I hear. So if you want to review, you have to make a motion and vote.
Quick question.
Yes.
If we decide to have a meeting in November, is it possible to move some of the December items to November?
No, we're not able to do that, I don't think. We actually have a scheduled date for November, is that correct?
Yeah, we have a date for November 15th. The items that you're hearing in December are part of the application cycle. They're the renewal applications, so we can't move those up.
Okay, I'm just thinking that one item.
Yes. And to go back to what, that the second part of another day from the AE Finance Office, I don't think we need to just leave it wide open, anything and everything. I think if we want any updates from ADE Finance, we're going to have to be very clear today as far as what we would want them to update us on. And if we're not clear on what that would be, then we would just simply need to focus on the one issue. So that's something in thinking about. So if we do have some questions, those are going to have to be things that we submit specifically to Alexandra if we did want an update from ADE Finance. So at this time, would anybody like to make a motion with regards to a review?
Madam Chair, can I just say one thing on that? Just to be clear, the hearing that's being set up for November.
You're going to need to step up to the microphone, please.
Just to be clear, as I understand it, the hearing that's being set up for November 15th is not just a review. This panel could revoke, modify, take out the charter, or anything like that. So it is a full revocation hearing with, obviously you can do something less than that, but, the report to the state board may be, other than just formality, somewhat moot, because you could actually take the charter out. So the school will make sure they understand what type of hearing, so I want to be clear on that point.
And I think in our motion, we would need to be really clear that what this is a review of, and if it's a review of the finances, we're going to need to be very clear in terms of what we would expect the charter to come prepared to answer.
Yes, because this is an action on their contract. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I'll try a motion. We can fix it. My motion is to notify the school, name of it, that their charter is in danger of being revoked and set for hearing on November 15th. If in the meantime, they produce sufficient financial information to satisfy the ADE Finance Department, and the Finance Department tells us that that's sufficient or satisfactory, then we can cancel the hearing.
Ms. Davis, is that an option to do, or do we just need to have a motion that we will?
Give them a drop dead and then a chance to be resurrected.
I would recommend that you have the hearing, at that point in time, ADE Finance can be here and they can present, and then you could take no action. I just know, you don't want them to cram, not that they would, but you don't want them to cram just in time for that deadline, but then the issues that are causing these to begin with don't get resolved. And there may be other things that aren't necessarily reflected on paper, so I would just recommend having a full hearing, period.
I mean, it can be a full hearing, but it can be real short, too.
Absolutely, it could be.
Yeah.
So,
And I will withdraw my motion or substitute Ms. Davis's language for we get the right.
Can I take a try? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to review the next virtual schools charter and set it for a hearing to make a full review of the charter.
second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to have a hearing to review Arkansas Connection Academy. So let me ask this, I think the motion said a full review. Is that full review different from review of finances and financial operations?
It could be. I think once you guys, well, I'll let Jennifer answer. Go ahead. Sorry.
I agree, it could be, but if you are only going to be reviewing financial matters, then I would just say reviewing fully financial. So that way it doesn't lend itself to academic or other kind of operations or curriculum at some point.
Well, what's the desire to say board? Is it financial review? If you withdraw your second, I'll amend my motion to be a financial review. That's sufficient. So that's my motion for financial review.
And who was our second? Second, okay. So the motion has been made and seconded to conduct a hearing for a financial review for Arkansas Connections Academy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, so we will have that review on, Ms. Boyd, you said November 15th. That time had already been scheduled. Okay. All right, Ms. Boyd, Ms. Davis, is there anything remaining for us to discuss prior to adjourning for lunch?
Well, I don't think lunch is here yet.
Oh, okay. Adjourning for a break and then our work session?
We need to outline what it is, what information you want from the charter and what information you want from the department.
Okay, hang on just a moment. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead again.
We need to outline what information you would like from the department and what information you would like from the charter.
Oh, okay. You're talking about with regards to the hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think in the past how we've done that. We've articulated in the, have we articulated everything in the meeting, or have we submitted the written information to your office and then you pass that on?
Yeah, we could do it both ways. You could outline here what you want, or if you need more time, you can send individually email me with what you want to hear. However, we are under a time constraint, so I would like to send the hearing letter out as soon as possible.
Definitely understand. Since this will be a hearing for a financial review, and I think part of it's going to be for us to understand what it is that we're going to need to see, like what were some of the things causing the issues, and you know, the overall. So I don't know. I think a good place for us to start. We don't have a copy of in front of us of what this state board had reviewed prior to. Can you go back over, and we probably need to go ahead and just run through a list right now.
Yeah, so what, I'm looking at this, sorry. I'm looking at the state board agenda from, I'm trying to see, hold on, I think it's from September. And it was on the consent agenda, it was pulled off. And they had the board report, they had the monthly enrollment count. And I really think that that's all they had, but let me double check. Okay, so what they had is, it's from the September meeting. They have July 2017 initial year open enrollment report, information provided by ADE, and then the detailed fund balance. So when in their first year, we keep up with how many students they have month by month, so they have that information. And then they have the board report, which demonstrates the major categories of spending and funding, and ends in the fund balance that showed $1,000. And then they had information from the state aid notice that kind of detailed how much money they were given that the state gave to them. So it's just those three items.
And so board members, as far as coming up, so Ms. Boyd, I think right now we probably need to take a break. I think we're starting to kind of drift off here for a minute. So we're going to probably need to take a break. When we come back from the break, if we could, we can discuss this item and then discuss how we need to proceed to be sure that the school and the ADE finance office is going to have a good list of what all we're going to need.
I know we have a work session for later, but we don't want to adjourn this part until after we've fully completed everything. So what's our schedule like right now in terms of lunch and
It's 11:30 now, lunch is supposed to be here at noon, so if you guys, if you want to take a break and then come back when we close this up and then go to lunch. That's how
yes, let's do that. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
Ms. Boyd, we were going to provide feedback on the kind of information that we're going to want on the day the 15th for the review.
And Dr. Cook, I think I may be able to help a little bit. We spoke with ADE Finance, who made some suggestions. I'd like to present those to you. From the charter, we would like to see the cash flow documents and bank reconciliation reports, which we've been asking from all charters. So we just want to make sure that those are up to date for them and get those from the school. Also, we would like a board report detailed of the liabilities in correlation with accounts payable. Their audit is currently is going through right now, and so we would like just a general comments on how that audit process is going. And then they make a big.
Can I interrupt? You said their audit, they're undergoing an audit right now?
Right now.
Okay, is that with leg audit, or is that a internal or private auditor that they use?
I do believe they use a private auditor. And then they make a big payment to the parent company, and we would like those payments to be itemized, the big chunk they've paid in the past, what they're actually paying for. And then from the ADE, we'll provide the information that the state board saw. We'll provide an updated board report. And then we'll also ask Cindy Smith and Celia Kazi to be present at the meeting.
Okay, panel members, questions or additions?
I have a question on the itemized part of the charter management organization stuff. Is that something that we asked for from other charters and they've given it to us, or has there been some?
Right, so typically we ask for it in the application process. So if they put in their budget that they're going to make a payment to a management company, we ask them to itemize that. But of course, that's just a projection and an estimate. So this would be a follow-up to what we asked them to provide during the application process.
Did they provide it in the application process?
I can't remember how much detail they gave. But I know they did respond to our request, but I can't speak to what the answer was.
Updated version of that.
Dr. Rowell?
If we move forward with asking for that itemized budget, is it possible, or are we in line to ask for the types of services that the parent organization provides?
I think that's what we're trying to uncover and asking them to itemize that payment. Was it for back office? Was it for PD? Was it for, what was it for?
I just want to say that we have typically asked for it. I know as of recently to a lot of charters to find out, what kind of services are being provided. And I think with this particular one, because they're using their parent system, which is part of this problem, they kind of log one payment in and one payment out. And so really knowing what all of that is for, because they have all that itemized in their parent system and we don't have access to that. So it's a little bit even more so than the traditional model that the other schools do. But we ask for that regularly.
Anyone else have anything to request?
What does our motion be? Or if we already?
Oh, we don't need a motion. You already made the motion to review. This is just outlining what you expect to see on November 15th from the department and from the charter.
And I would, and also it'd probably be good to kind of know what training they have had in terms of our reporting systems and requirements, and any clarification on any training they might need. So, and I don't know whether our office would want to provide any information related to that as well, or recommendations. Okay. All right. So, Ms. Boyd, you'll send this information to them. Is there anything else you need from us regarding this matter?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so
Is there anything remaining then
No, ma'am.
in terms of our action agenda? So our next meeting, we do have our work session this afternoon. So in a moment, we'll adjourn for lunch and come back for the work session. So our next meeting will be on November 15th at this location. And what time will we start?
At 8:30.
At 8:30 a.m. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no other items, then we will adjourn. And do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. We will adjourn, and let's come back at, would you all, if we have lunch delivered at noon, can we come back at 12:30? Okay, we are adjourned, and we'll return at 12:30, 12:30 for our work session.